Cyclone Filipo, despite all odds, really has managed to intensify to a Category 1 storm on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and is making landfall right now near the town of Jean in Mozambique as a Category 1 with winds of 75 miles per hour. The storm is producing some heavy rainfall, albeit not over land just yet, but the rainfall threat is expected to go up in the next few hours quite significantly. As I said, right now it's got winds of 75 miles per hour, that's 120 kilometers per hour in 1 minute sustained winds, and a pressure of 986 millibars. Moving west-southwest at 9 miles per hour, so it's not moving particularly fast, but that movement speed is expected to increase quite rapidly over the next 12 to 40 to 36 hours. So here's where the storm is located right now. It's currently located at 21.5 degrees south, 35.6 degrees east. It's only 30 miles away from Jean, 39 from Lice, 125 from Beira, which is a pretty big area given Cyclone Idai's presence over there, 163 from Tufo Beach, and 275 from Zai Zai, where it will emerge off the coast near that city and near that town location. Respectively, in kilometers, those towns 4862, 201, 263, and 442. And we are expected to make a landfall over the next 6 hours or so, maybe probably sooner than that, as a Category 1 with winds of 75 miles per hour. And there's that wind field, mainly on the southern side of things, much larger on the southern side compared to the northern side, albeit the overall cyclone force winds of this storm are fairly small. It is unclear if there are any tropical cyclone related watches or warnings in effect, so it's best if you tune into the local office there in Mauritius, or not in Mauritius, in Mozambique for the latest information and any watches or warnings. But it is recommended that residents, if you are not already, seek shelter in the landfall area as high cyclone force winds are imminent. So the landfall is predicted to be in the next 3 hours, but the rainfall threat is predicted to last far beyond that, and we could see up to 250 millimeters of rainfall over the next 2 days, believe it or not, as the storm moves on through. Along with that heavy rainfall, which could cause some issues in mountainous areas as well, by the way. We could be seeing a threat of damaging winds, albeit not particularly high winds, but it doesn't really take these kind of winds, once we get up towards 60, 65 miles per hour and above that, it doesn't take a whole lot to start to cause some damage. So these kind of winds, especially around this stage, I believe, are really underestimated in the damage that they can cause, and the impacts would be quite severe for these kind of damaging winds. Here's our latest forecast right now on the storm, moving quickly inland and quickly weakening due to land interaction, and then emerging off the coast in around 36 hours from now and re-intensifying as it interacts with a jet, as we call it, and could briefly attain Category 1 status again. It's a bit uncertain that how strong this storm will get in that second phase, and then quickly turning post-tropical, and after the post-tropics, very quickly afterwards, into the next week, it will be a post-tropical cyclone over the South Indian Ocean. So the latest Joint Typhoon Warning Center's forecast cone, albeit they agree with us a lot on track, but albeit not so much in terms of intensity, although they are going with a 70 miles per hour peak after that second phase. They got it at interestingly, that they had it at AT&T, they had it at winds of 70 miles per hour. They have since downgraded to 65 for their 0Z point, which is 6 hours later, so they have it at 65 right now. And they are forecasting this storm to move rapidly off towards the east once it makes that post-tropical transition as is forecast. So here's what we're seeing right now for the maximum sustained winds. ADT is all the way down at 50 to 60 miles per hour, albeit a little bit low at that. DWC, as I said, is at 65, Mateo France at 70, and we are at 75 based on satellite imagery, which I'll see here in just a few minutes. I think that this storm is well deserving of a minimal Category 1 status on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and it could be time for any additional identification is running out and very quickly, and it probably won't intensify prior to landfall. So here's what the latest GFS model run is saying. You can see it very quickly making landfall, and some questions on how strong it gets in that second phase before it turns post-tropical. GFS and the HWRF run, which you'll see on the red night dot plot, absolutely saying that this one will get to Category 1 status. Although models do disagree, so there is a bit of uncertainty at how strong this gets in terms of this second forecast, or the second part of this storm that we're going to be seeing. But we're in general in confidence, thankfully in high confidence in terms of the forecast track. It's just the intensity that we're a little bit uncertain with. But once the storm moves off towards the post-tropics, it'll be it'll merge with a frontal system down towards its south, and will be nothing more than a forgotten memory, I imagine, as we head into next week. What we're seeing right now for the sea surface temperatures right now, they are pretty favorable for any additional intensification that would happen. It would have to be pretty much right now, as the storm is probably making landfall as the time of me narrating this. So time for any additional notification is running out, and in fact, I don't think it's going to intensify much more, if at all, prior to landfall. So we're likely seeing the first peak intensity, could be the ultimate peak intensity of the storm right now, 75 miles per hour as it's making landfall right now in Mozambique. Some of those observations aren't suggesting too much, given that the core of this storm is quite small. It's very interesting to see that the core of the storm is actually quite small, given that for most of its life as an invest, it was 90s in the Mozambique channel. It was quite a large area of interest. So very interestingly to see that this storm has now developed into a Category 1 storm, and it's fairly small in terms of the core. We've got a pressure of 1,005 millibars being reported in Beira, to the north of the center of circulation. Here's what we're seeing right now for the model runs. The HWRF is in blue, GFS in red, and the GWC in that grayish track. Fairly confident on where this storm is going to go once it makes that post-tropical transition very quickly off towards the east-southeast, as storms frequently do here in this time of year in this basin. I imagine that's a fairly familiar thing for these locations, but you can see here some questions are a little bit to be answered on how quickly this storm does emerge back over land. Intensity forecast, you can see that GFS and HWRF are hinting at a potential, a little bit of a jet interaction that could happen very briefly, which could give the storms a little bit more boost in its intensity. HWRF going all the way up to Category 2, believe it or not. Wind shear is forecast to skyrocket past that jet interaction, as typical is over most post-tropical cyclones. Sea temperatures are fairly decent for now, and they will remain fairly decent when the storm emerges off the coast, albeit they will be lower than what they are now, but 28 degrees Celsius whenever it emerges is still favorable for some additional intensification. And relative humidity is forecast to be favorable throughout the entire storm's track until it turns post-tropical around the 15th or the 16th. So conditions are favorable for the storm to re-intensify. Just the question is, how strong will it get? We'll see in just a few days. Here's what we're seeing on the satellite imagery over the past 24 hours. You can see that it was initially struggling to wrap around on the southern side of the circulation, but then all of a sudden around 18Z today, it did. And that would be my estimation of when it actually probably got up to winds of 70-75 miles per hour, and has since maintained that intensity, probably due to land interaction as it comes into the coastline here. And you can see that rather large rainfall band off towards the east. Thankfully, that's not over land right now. We could be seeing, but that band, I should be saying, will be eventually moving over land. And along with the core of this system, we could be seeing up to 250 millimeters of rainfall over some inland areas. It's going to be a very quick hit, though, thankfully, for these areas. The storm isn't going to be lingering over this area like Cyclone Filipo back in 2019, which had a lot more rainfall than this. So here's the visible imagery. You can see that it tried to develop an eye there for just a few frames here. You see it much better on this one. There it is, right as sunset. Ultimately, did not get a lot stronger than this, thankfully, but still did get stronger than what we were originally forecasting. And we'll have to wait and see how strong this storm gets as it makes that southern track, their second peak intensity over the Mozambique Channel and southern Indian Ocean. Still seeing that rainfall threat. We'll have further updates on the storm over the next few days as it moves off towards the east-southeast and ultimately turns post-tropical over the southern Indian Ocean.